Financialized landlords. This is landlords who use housing systems as commodity or investment, own a large share of rental housing here in Canada. According to the University of Waterloo, the largest financial firms now own close to 400,000 suites. That's around 20% of purpose-built multifamily rental units in the country. That's up from zero in the mid-90s. There are concerns that this might lead to higher rents, more rent evictions, stem evictions, fixed-term leases, and is contributing to the lack of affordable housing. So for more this morning, we're joined by Tanya Burkhart, a leader at Acorn. Welcome, Tanya.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. How are you?
I'm good. You know, listen, people are a little confused with this term, financialized landlords. Can you explain what that is?
Financialized landlords use real estate and property and rental units as an investment, and the goal is profit, and they don't really take care of their tenants. And so it's definitely profit over people when it comes to financialized landlords and financialized housing.
Yeah, and further investigation in that term, you point out really well, is it centers around the goal. So if the goal is commodity or investment as opposed to providing housing and care, that's where the difference in terminology comes from. Which groups of people are most affected by financialized landlords? This is landlords that have bigger investment companies behind them or investors behind them. Who are most affected and why?
Seniors on fixed income, low and moderate income tenants, newcomers, people with disabilities, Indigenous people. There's a large segment of the population that is impacted by these measures. And so we need the federal government to really provide strong enforcement and legislation through this Renters' Bill of Rights.
Being a financialized landlord is not an illegal practice, nor is investing or making money off of housing. But what do you want to see the provincial or federal government do to help support the group of people you originally mentioned?
Well, we'd like national tenants' rights standards to be developed within the Renters' Bill of Rights that the federal government announced. And we'd like to have it created within basically a bilateral agreement that forces provinces to put standards into place to protect tenants. Some of those standards are rent control with no loopholes, a ban on unaffordable or additional rental increases, a ban on fixed-term leases. And that bilateral agreement is basically a process where provinces have to come up with an action plan. They have to basically enhance tenant protections and come up to those standards to receive funding for housing. And it also mandates that they report on the feedback of what they've accomplished with this funding. And so it's a way to hold financialized landlords accountable for the funding they receive and to ensure that housing is targeted to people in core housing need.
Yeah, the housing crisis in this country is very multi-layered. The federal government recently announced measures where they were going to crack down on international students coming in. This is one of their solutions for fixing the housing crisis. But when you have financialized landlords who are buying up large portions of this property and then it is not accessible, is this one of the steps that the government you feel like should be taking to help tackle affordable housing in this country, as opposed to just limiting the number of students who are coming in?
Limiting the number of students simply lessens demand. It doesn't address supply issues, and it also doesn't really talk about protecting the affordable housing that we do have. How do you keep rent from increasing when there is no rent control? In provinces like Alberta, there is no rent control. Even in Ontario, there's no rent control after November 15th of 2018. So all of the new housing built won't be under rent control. And so limiting international students is simply trying to stem demand. I don't think it really addresses any supply issues or really addresses issues such as rent evictions and dumb evictions.
In the meantime, if people are in a tough situation, what can they do to protect themselves?
They can seek legal advice. I would encourage tenants to organize and speak to your neighbors. It's a very effective tool in addressing conditions in your buildings. And so there's a few things that people can do. You can try and achieve justice by going through the Landlord and Tenant Board or some kind of provincial body, trying to achieve landlord licensing at the municipal level, just trying to advocate for basically strategies to prevent rent evictions and dumb evictions. I think organizing is an important key for tenants, for sure.
Tanya Burkhart, thank you for coming on Your Morning.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.